This video will cover installing and configuring the Autodesk License Manager for Moldflow products. Here I've laid out the overview of the video. First, we will need to select a license server, and there are several relevant variables for this, which we'll cover later on. Second, we'll need to install the License Manager on the selected service. Third, we'll need to collect the relevant license server information for the selected server. Fourth, we'll need to register our serial numbers and obtain the license file or files. Fifth, we'll need to create a debug file for the service. Sixth, we'll need to place the license file and debug file on the server. Seventh, we'll need to configure and start the license service on the server. And eighth, we'll need to confirm that the license service is up and running on the server. For step 1, selecting a license server, there are several relevant variables to be included. First is accessibility. We need to ensure that port 2080 as well as a user-selected port between 27000 and 27009 are always open. This port can be selected by the user and by default as selected as 27000. You also need to ensure that this server is easily accessible and always available to your users, including evenings and weekends, so that there is no restriction in your user's ability to access the licenses. Next, we need to ensure that the server selected is running a supported operating system. Supported operating systems are 32-bit and 64-bit Windows XP, Windows Vista, and Windows 7, as well as 64-bit Windows Server 2003 and Server 2008. Unsupported operating systems are 32-bit Server 2003, 2008, as well as Linux, Mac OS X, and virtual machines and other hosted operating systems. After we've selected a relevant server to install on, we now need to launch the application to install the License Manager. This can be done from the menu in the DVD or the executable you download from the subscription center. This launches the actual installation wizard, where the first step will require a path for the installation. After selecting the path, you can hit the next button to move forward. Next, we'll be prompted with an option to install as a client and server installation or a client-only installation. As this is our license server, we'll be installing as client and server. The primary difference here is client and server installation installs both the Flex License Manager as well as the Moldflow proxy, whereas the client-only installation only installs the proxy. The proxy is necessary for clients. After choosing that option and hitting Next, you'll be prompted with the option to include the hostname or IP address for the license server. Should be by default already entered. If not, please enter it. After doing so, hit Next. Review the installation information on this screen and choose Install if you're ready to move forward with the installation. The installation itself is very quick, as the install is very small and should take between 20 and 30 seconds to complete. Once it's completed, you'll be prompted with the option to activate licenses online. By checking this box and hitting Finish, you'll launch the website. If you prefer to register your licenses at a separate time, there are other means of doing so, which will be covered later in this video. Once you've installed the License Manager, you now need to gather relevant data for your server machine so that you can register the license when you do contact the registration department. To do this, we'll want to go to your Start menu, All Programs, Accessories, Command Shell, and in the Command Shell type in ipconfig /all and hit Enter. This will display all your machine's relevant information. What we're interested in here is the host name as well as the physical address, or commonly known as the MAC address. Once you have this information, you're ready to call or contact the registration department in a way in such you can register your serial numbers and receive your keys. In terms of contacting the registration department, you can do so through the installation, or if you have gotten past that point, there are two other methods. One is over the web, by going to the website listed here on the screen, or by calling 1-800-551-1490. Keep in mind that there are 4 primary things needed by the registration department to register your license. First is the host name, second is your physical address, third they'll need your company name, and fourth they'll need the serial number or serial numbers of the products that you want to register for licenses. Once you have those 4 things, feel free to contact the registration department at your leisure. Next, we'll need to create a debug file. Now that we've registered the license and we have it ready, we'll want to go to the Start menu, All Programs, Accessories, Notepad. In this blank notepad, all we'll need to do is do a file Save As, and save this notepad somewhere easily accessible. In this case, I'll save it to the desktop. You want to ensure that you name it something obvious for debugging purposes. In this case, we'll utilize just debug. Once you've saved it, you'll want to right-click and rename the file extension from .txt to .log for log file. This will be utilized in creating your license service. After you've created the debug file and you have registered your serial numbers and have your licenses, we'll need to place these licenses somewhere local to your machine in which they will not move. This is because the service that you set up will query a specific path to where you've placed these files, and if they don't move, then you don't need to worry about compromising the service that you set up. The best place is in the installation directory for the license manager. To access this, open a Windows Explorer by right-clicking on the Start menu and selecting Explorer. This will launch your Windows Explorer, and you can navigate to your C drive, program files, or program files x86 on 64-bit machines, Autodesk Network License Manager, License Directory. This is a safe place to place all your licenses and debug files in such a way that they won't move. After you've placed them there, you're ready to create your service. To create a service with Flex License Manager, you need to first open up the service creation tool, which is referred to as the LMTOOLS. To access the LMTOOLS, first you'll want to go to your Start menu, All Programs, Autodesk, Network License Manager, LMTOOLS. On the first Server/License File tab, ensure that Configuration Using Services is selected. If so, you should have an option for a Configure Services tab, which you want to navigate to now. There are 4 paths to fill out here, the first being Service Name. You can name this anything you'd like, and for this example, we'll use MoldFlow. In the next path, you'll need to browse to the LMGRD file, which is the license name and utilized for your service. To do so, select on the Browse option next to this path and navigate to your C drive, Program Files, or Program Files x86, Autodesk Network License Manager, and select the file lmgrd.exe and select Open. This will specify the path for the relevant file. The next 2 paths are for your license file and your debug file. Utilize the Browse tool and browse to the location that you placed for both of them. Since you should have placed them together, it should be very easy to do so. After selecting each file and browsing to them, you'll want to activate the Use Services option as well as the Start Server Power-Up options at the bottom of the video. After doing so, select the option to Save Service and select Yes. Finally, we'll want to go to the Start Stop Reread tab to start the server. Click the button that says Start Server, and you should be prompted with a message below that indicates Server Start has been successful. Once we see this, we know that the service is now up and running. And to confirm this, what we'll want to do is navigate to the Server Status tab. If you note that the server start was unsuccessful, there are troubleshooting procedures that the support group and the knowledge base can provide for you. On the Server Status tab, you'll want to select the option to perform status inquiry. By doing this, you'll populate the text box below. In the text box should display all relevant information for all Flex-based licenses. We're primarily concerned with the Autodesk licenses, so you'll want to look for the vendor daemon status for the ADSK FLEX and the version of LMTOOLS you're using, as seen on the video. Once you find this, that highlights the licenses served from an Autodesk daemon. And you'll notice here, it sees some of the licenses that I have provided. It indicates users of, and then my specific product code for the licenses I have installed on this machine. This indicates that the Flex portion of the license is able to see my licenses as set up properly. As I mentioned previously in the video, there is another component of the license for running MoldFlow products. That has to do with the Autodesk MoldFlow proxy, which is covered in a separate video, reference TS14276194. Have a good day.